It is possible to be your own landscape designer, though you must be willing to invest some time learning, researching, and carefully planning out your design. This video is a big picture overview of the design process for the do-it-yourselfer, so you can learn how to design your own landscape. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Eve. I'm a landscape designer, and welcome to Garden Project Academy, where I offer online courses and resources to help you with your next garden project. The first step to creating your own landscape design is completing a site survey, and a site survey is the process of exploring and learning about your design area. It's important to be extensive as you're learning both the limitations and the strengths of your space. For example, a patch of rocky soil could be viewed as a problem if you want to plant a tree there. You could spend time trying to repair the soil, trying to dig the rocks out, or you could just work around the problem, design with that in mind, so instead of putting the tree there, perhaps that's where your patio ends up. Or you can embrace the rocky soil and learn about all of the cool plants that like to grow among rocks, even add some more rocks to the space and just turn it into a featured part of your landscape. Some people view their landscape as if it's this blank canvas, that anything is possible, and that's true if you have the means, if you bring in equipment, bring in materials, but I personally believe a better approach is to start with the site survey. Then you can learn the strengths and characteristics of the space and come up with design ideas that match. It saves you time, energy, money, reduces negative impact, and you come up with really creative ideas. It's possible to come up with some really creative ideas based on what you learn from the space. A site survey is about observing and listening and exploring, and it's also simply an inventory of any factors that can affect your finished design. You'll consider microclimate, the amount of sun or shade, cold or warm temperatures that different parts of the landscape receive, utilities, safety, privacy. Identify the plants that are in the space, the ones you want to retain or perhaps move to a different part of the landscape. And then the weeds. You should identify the weeds. Learn, because not all weeds are the same. Some of them are more noxious or aggressive than others and may require a little bit of extra attention before you move on to other steps in the landscaping process. All of this can affect your finished design and is worth spending time learning about. The next step is to collect inspiration, and this can be as simple as gardening books, magazines, pictures online. You could go on a walk in your neighborhood, see what's doing well right up the street in the same microclimate or same conditions. You could visit a local botanical garden. Whatever your options are, you should end up with some visual inspiration because you can pretty easily break that down into pieces and recreate that in your space. You know what you like when you see it, even if you aren't a designer, you don't consider yourself a designer. It's pretty easy to break down visual inspiration into pieces that you can then recreate in your own space. Next, you should create your base map. And a base map is a map of the design space drawn accurately and to scale. Not perfectly, but it should be pretty accurate and as close to scale as you can get with a tape measure or whatever tools you have available to you. It should include all of the permanent elements in your landscape so you can use this base map to draw your future landscape plans with those permanent elements in mind. Now, I know that making a base map does not sound like the most exciting part of the landscape design process. It's not. You will need to spend time taking accurate measurements and drawing out a map of your space, but do not skip this step. It will save you so much time and energy in the long run. Your base map can be used so many times to brainstorm or test out ideas that you have for the landscape with the size and the scale in mind. And that's important. That's why I draw my base maps onto graph paper, because if you have an idea, you draw it out on paper, you see what space remains, how everything fits together. You can test out so many ideas, and the more testing you do, the better your finished design. It gives you this opportunity to experiment with really creative ideas. So I like to make one base map, and then I make a bunch of copies that I use throughout the whole design process. You can also use your base maps to create these reference maps. And I'm really trying to sell this so you don't skip this part of the process. These are so incredibly helpful. An example of a map, a reference map, would be a sun and shade map. If you, as you're completing your site survey, you own a copy of your base map, you draw out the amounts of sun or shade different parts of your landscape will receive. You can refer to that throughout the whole design process. It makes it so much easier when you're sitting down at your desk and you're planning out your garden beds or where you're going to put a certain tree. You can just refer to this map, the map of the sun or shade in your landscape. Another example, your site survey. You can take notes about the interesting features you learn during your site survey onto another blank copy of your base map. And then again, as you're inside thinking about what elements to put where, you can take all of those little features into consideration and how they might influence your plan. It just improves the quality of your design overall and just saves you time trying to remember, there was that rock right in the center of the lawn that I found. Where was that located again? And how will that affect the location of my patio? Saves you so much time. From there, I recommend starting your design with how you plan to use your space in mind first. So you start with function, so form follows function. And I have a whole video where I talk about this. So I'll link to that in the top corner of this video right now, as well as in the description below if you want to save that to watch next after this video. I go into way more detail there. But it makes sense that your landscape design space, it's more than likely going to be an extension of your living space, or you otherwise have some goals for the space, how you want to spend time in it, how it will be used, how it will make the world a better place, the activities, anything that you will be doing in your space. Your design can affect how you perform those activities. And that is the best way to start designing your landscape, by thinking about what you want to do, and then coming up with ideas to match that. All of these things should influence the layout of your design. These things should come before what plants you put where. They should come before the aesthetics, how you are going to bring your design style to life. And this is one of the hardest parts, getting your ideas onto paper. But if you do a lot of brainstorming, that can make things easier. You start with a big picture layout, and then you start to add more details, come up with different ways you can lay things out. There's always many possibilities. And to help you through this process, in my online course, Design Your Own Landscape Layout, I have these design exercises, these activities that help you brainstorm potential layouts and kind of zero in on what layout will be best for you. And from there, you add in more details, and you can test out your layout for viability by completing these design exercises. So this online course is brand new. This video essentially is an outline of what's in the course. I teach you how to complete a site survey, what to look for as you do it, how to make your base map. I walk you through all these different tools and techniques. So if you're interested in help with this whole landscape design layout process, check out that course. Link is in the description below. This is also the point in the design process where you should consider things like the soil covering materials, the hardscaping, what you will use and where all of this will be, how those materials will interact. Consider installation phase planning and maintenance, how that can influence the layout of your design. Then there's privacy, security, there's irrigation, what parts of your design area need what amounts of irrigation, yard waste management. All of these things can impact the layout of your design. And it sounds like a lot, but there's always, I like to say there's always multiple possibilities. There's always multiple ways, practical, functional ways that you can design your landscape while keeping all of this in mind. The most important thing is that you come up with ideas that are custom to you or the people who will be interacting with the space. Once you have a good idea of what you want, where, the overall layout, where the garden beds will be, you then design the garden beds. You move into the finer details of designing, bringing your landscape design inspiration to life. So the colors, the textures, the specific materials, and this is probably the part of the process that you've most been looking forward to. And it comes after so many steps. But everything you've done up until this point is setting you up for success at this point in the process. Think about your site survey. Maybe you made one of those sun and shade maps that you can refer to as you select plant possibilities. This is how you create a low maintenance landscape. You select plants that are adapted to the conditions of the site, that will do well in those exact conditions, as opposed to selecting a plant and then trying to change the conditions for the plant to do well. It can be helpful to start by prioritizing the plants in your design a little bit too as you do your research. So start with the plants that serve a purpose, the focal point plants, the privacy plants, windbreaks, shade plants, structural plants, any plants that kind of contribute to the overall backbone, main structure of the design, or make up the main mass of the design. These are the plants that you start with. It's essentially working from largest down to the smallest plants until you like what you see or until you otherwise run out of room. Landscape design is nuanced. It's a ton of fun. It can be time consuming. It's helpful if you have a little bit of guidance, you have a system and a series of steps to follow, but it is absolutely worth the time investment in the long run. Instead of trying to figure all of this stuff out in real life, spending money on different plants and materials, if you spend time figuring everything out on paper, it makes the installation process so much more efficient, more affordable, and more enjoyable too, because you'll have a plan. You'll know what to do first, what to do second, and you can follow those steps and to bringing your dream landscape to life. If you'd like to learn more about the Design Your Own Landscape Layout course, my brand new course, please check out the link in the description below to sign up and get started today. I will guide you through the steps of this design process. And otherwise, I wish you the best of luck in your design project. Add comments, questions in the comments below. I'm happy to help out as much as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and happy gardening.